So welcome to this mid-season edition of Dennis and the Doc. I'm joined by Mr. Dennis for maybe just the second time since the season started. A little more difficult when we don't live in the same place anymore. But Mr. Dennis, nice to have you back on.
Yeah, nice to be back. Nice to be able to get together again. And yeah, like you said, difficult when we aren't living 5 minutes from each other and working at the same job that we can bum out of for hours at a time.
Yeah, that certainly helped things. It's been a nice couple of weeks though. The last time I was on was the win over Kansas. I hopped on by myself after Marquette. But what are we on? Five straight since then. It's been a nice little streak for the Jays. You've got to be enjoying life as a college basketball fan right now. Your Badgers also looking pretty good lately.
Not if you hate Creighton, but yeah, no, it's been a good season. It's been in a weird way, it's been more like the what would that be, the 22 season? Like the Baby
Mhm.
Jays season, where like you didn't expect much from either. Like I'm sure for everybody who's up on their Dennis and the Doc lore, I was very high on the Badgers last year, and I think correctly so. And I was extremely low on this team. Like I thought they had last place potential. Did not see how they would improve, how they would score, and scoring has certainly not been the issue for them. So yeah, it's been a really fun team to watch, and been a fun season to take in. A little bit less high wired for various reasons this season, but it's been fun. It's been a good college basketball season, like always.
Yeah, it's been a nice season to kind of follow. Like I think we both were pretty open about being all in on last year's Jays team and maybe to a lesser extent the team before that. And this year hasn't, just not living in Omaha as much, the same way not having the same expectations for this team has made it feel a little bit different. But I feel like we've had a hell of a college basketball season to watch this year.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like every year it delivers. Um, yeah, like you said, I've been enjoying this Creighton season, and they've had a nice little turnaround here. Isaac Trout has stepped up, improved in a lot of ways. That's been big. Um, Kalkbrenner's been great. Ashworth has, stepped into the role as the dominant ball handler. So it's been fun to watch. And yeah, the expectations for this team are different. Like this is not a Final Four bust team. Like if this team ends up with a Sweet 16 like last year's team, I think that's a pretty big success at this point, even if you would have, I guess maybe at the beginning of the year, been a little down on that. I think I was probably lower on this team to consensus coming in, which that looks right. Um, yeah, it's been a fun season, and on a national perspective, a lot of great players, a really fun freshman class. Like Cooper Flag is awesome. Tahad Pettiford, I don't know, did you see my pick in the draft chat?
I did not.
Open it up when you got a second. Todd Pettiford for Auburn is awesome. Uh, just a lot of really fun teams and fun styles. So yeah, as a fan, it's been great. And I think I said this last year when we touched on the mega conferences. Like I know it sucks for football. I know there are drawbacks, but like it is pretty freaking sweet for college basketball. Um, yeah, it takes a little bit away of the regionality. It takes away some of the storied rivalries, but like Iowa State at Arizona tonight, it's an awesome game. Like you weren't getting that last year.
Yeah,
So it's been really, really fun and really cool in that regard.
I just saw the picture. That's pretty funny. That's a sick fucking jersey too. So
Thank you. Yeah, I got a Benton Leukton on the way. I don't know where it is, but it's coming. Yeah, it's a great use of $15.
yeah, the fact that there were five Big West players, I think we could have reasonably guessed was kind of fun
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, Big West is a lot of fun this year. I was really hoping it'd be a two-bid league. But unfortunately UC Riverside, I think, in 1 week kind of put an end to that. Although who knows? Never know how the
Yeah,
bubble
it's
will go.
still an outside chance, but it's
You
it's looking
probably
pretty.
need like a you probably needed like a 17-1 Irvine to lose in the conference title game by
Yeah,
one, something like
yeah,
that. You need no bid stealers.
yeah.
Um,
Indiana State kind of showed you just how difficult the path for something like that is last year. So there's really no room
yeah,
for error.
yeah, which is unfortunate, but I don't know. I think it'll be. I know we don't really have a big outline going to this, but I think it'll be interesting to see how the bubble shapes up. Looking back, uh, I think the biggest storyline of this year is the SEC probably and just its dominance, and unlike football in some cases, I think it's well earned this year.
Hmm.
Um, like I think that conference is pretty ridiculous, and really the only parallel that you could kind of draw is the 2021 Big Ten, which was famous for being lauded as one of the best conferences ever, and then underperforming in the tournament, which that's besides the point. But if you look at how the Big Ten shaped up, and now again, this is a little bit of a weird year because it was the COVID year, and so I think there were more bids to go around. Like I think the Ivy, the SWAC, and the MEAC didn't play, if I'm correct.
Yes, yeah, the Ivy for sure did not. The other two,
The Ivy
I
did
can't say
not,
I
and I
remember off
think a
the top of
couple
my
of the
head.
HBCUs did not as well. So there were more bids to go around, but like looking at some of the teams that got in, like 18 and 13 Wisconsin with a 10 and 10 conference record got a 9 seed. Now that team was rated 14th in Ken Palm. It's like
Hmm.
major outlier. But then you have like Rutgers at 16 and 12, 10 and 10, a 10 seed, 38th in Ken Palm. Maryland 17 and 14, 9 and 11, 10 seed, 35th. Michigan State 15 and 13, 9 and 11, and they were 11 seed first four Dayton
Went to
game,
the
and they were rated 64th. Penn State was left out 11 and 14. They were 40th. Obviously under 500 not going to get in. So,
Was that
off
the
that
Sparty team
precedent,
that made a run, or was that the one that put up a shit
no, that's
show
the
in
one
the
that
first
lost to
four?
UCLA, who made a
Yeah,
run.
yeah, that's
I think
right.
they lost like overtime. Yeah, they lost that game in
Yeah,
overtime.
because it was UCLA made the Final Four and could have lost in the opening game, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, UCLA was down five with a minute 29 to play.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so in terms of what that means for this year, now you never really know, but I think that probably means you can expect the SEC to get a lot of teams in. Again, you never really know exactly what the bubble shapes up to be, but like, Kentucky's, which this is fucking nuts, but like Kentucky's now projected to go like 9-9 in the conference, which
yeah,
is pretty ridiculous. But like a Georgia, for example, who's looking to shape up. What was that record? Give me 1 second. Georgia like 19 and 12, 7 and 11 in SEC, currently rated 37th. Sorry, 41st. I would guess that team gets in.
yeah. They're
And
projected a
so
9 right now on Ken Palm or on Torvik's
yeah.
Rankitology.
So like Oklahoma, for example, like they're projected 20 and 11, 7 and 11 overall. Um, Again, they put up a gaudy record in non-con, and they do have some solid win. Like they played a lot of dreadful teams, but like neutral over Michigan, neutral over Providence, neutral over Arizona, neutral over Louisville. Like
Yeah,
those will play.
they played 7 quad 4 games, but they're also 4-3 in quad 1. So
They
like,
played one team between 111 and 327 in the non-con. Crazy enough.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, barring a total collapse, like they're sitting at 2-4. So yeah, I mean, if you can find 5 wins in there, which shit, I don't know, it's gonna be tough. Like, there's no like, yeah, they'll just win that game. I guess maybe home LSU. Um, but I think you could probably expect the SEC to get 12 bids.
it has
Um,
them as favorites in 2 of their remaining, what is
yeah,
that, 11
yeah,
games?
that's SEC shit. No, 13 bids. Sorry. So a 13 bid SEC. The bubble shrinks up really quickly from other conferences when you have that. You're gonna have what roughly a 10 bid Big Ten. And
Yep.
now there are bids coming from one fewer power conference. The A10 is shaping up to likely be a one bid league, so that helps. The Mountain West is not going to get six again. They're probably looking at two or three, depending on what New Mexico, San Diego State, and Utah State do down the stretch. Um, the ACC is probably a three bid league. So Duke,
Yeah,
Louisville,
maybe a fourth,
Wisconsin,
depending on what Wake does the rest of the way, or Pitt.
or Carolina.
Yeah.
Carolina should not be close to the bubble. I don't get that at all. I don't
No,
think at all.
they're it's all, like their quality metrics at this point that are keeping it in it. They're what 30th and BPI seems to be the only thing that's kind of working in their favor. Their resume metrics, I think their average is 47th. Like that's not a team that
Yeah.
with their record and with a 1-7 quad 1 should really even be, that first four or next four out.
Yeah, and I know I say that I think I've said this before, like I fully recognize in college football that like there's no such thing as a Cinderella. Like there will never be, 12 seed SMU quite literally wins the title 0 out of a million times this year.
Right.
Um, I am such a big proponent of like get the mid-major team in. Like I think UC Irvine, for example, and I will fully admit I'm biased in this. Like a 30-4 UC Irvine team deserves to be in so much more than a 20-13 North Carolina team with two good wins. Like I so firmly believe that. Now again, it's one thing, like I think the SEC is an outlier. Like quite literally every game is a quad one game. Like I don't have a
Yeah,
ton of qualms with 7-11 Georgia getting in. Like that to me is fine. But like the ACC is so awful. Like there's not a ton of difference between that and the Big West. Like yeah, the Big West bottom is worse, but like Irvine will play multiple games that are on par with multiple games on Carolina's conference schedule.
yeah, yeah. You
Santa
take the
Barbara,
bottom half of the ACC, compare it to the middle of the Big West, even you're looking at pretty comparable opponents.
I mean, fuck, UC San Diego would be like the fifth best team in the ACC.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad that conference has gotten, which is ridiculous.
Well, it's
But
not even it because the SEC thing, it's a little bit different than football, I think, because you in the SEC football, you track the quality of recruits and how that can kind of get influenced by just giving teams the benefit of the doubt. The quality of player in the SEC compared to the ACC, the quality of coaching, the quality of
that's what I
their
was gonna say is the coach, like the coaching is so ridiculous in the SEC. Like I think Matt McMahon is probably clearly the worst coach at LSU. Like I don't necessarily think he's a bad coach. Like I don't really know enough about him. Like Lamont Paris, I think is fine. But like after that, like who the hell is the third? Like is John Calipari really like your
I think
14th best coach?
at
Like
Terry,
yeah, shit, that's true. I hate Ronnie
yeah,
Terry.
Terry
Okay, yeah,
even maybe
good
below
call.
Paris.
Good call. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll put Terry 15, Paris 14, probably like okay, yeah, same
Calipari
thing. Like
13, yeah, same
Calipari 15, like
difference.
that's ridiculous. Like I know it's fun to like shit on him, and I've done it as much as everyone. Like that's a damn good coach. And then who the hell's 12? Like Porter Moser?
Oh, yeah, well, hard to argue that this year.
Like Mike White? Who it probably is Mike White.
It's probably Mike White, but it's close. Like at that point, you're talking about at
Like,
least better than average coaches.
like I mean, just looking at teams like Gates is probably below average as well. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
fuck,
yeah, well, yeah.
Is Buzz Williams like the 10th best coach in your conference? Like, probably. Like, I mean, fuck, Nate Oates might be like the fifth best. Like that's
It depends on what you define coaching as, because like I'm always a big proponent of roster building is a huge part of coaching, and on that alone, I don't think you can take him out of the top three, maybe.
would you take Pearl or Oates?
Pearl.
Barnes or Oates?
That one's close. I
I would
lean.
take Barnes.
I might lean Oates on that one.
Okay. Do you like I'm just like you so Pearl I would take over him. Then I think dog yeah, sorry, my dog's gonna be fucking barking because we're getting their bathroom redone. Like Pearl's close, Golden is close.
Yeah.
Barnes is close, or Pearl's above him. Golden, I think, is close. I'm a big Todd Golden fan. Of course, this is finally the first year that I didn't go all in on him preseason, and this is what it gets me. I would take Barnes over him. Beard is close. I do like Chris Jans a ton. Like I'd put Oates above him, but not by a ton. Like I'd probably put him above Pope, but again, not by a ton. Like it's close,
Yeah.
which is pretty nuts.
Yeah, their top
Yeah,
six
the
or
coaching
seven
in
go
that league
deeper
is
than
so
most top
ridiculous.
three.
Especially if is anybody gonna do it? No one's gonna do it, but fuck, get Will Wade back in that conference. Like
I can't
LSU,
believe it.
come on.
Yeah,
He,
the
he'll,
fact that
he'll
that
be
hasn't
somewhere
happened.
next year.
He seems, I'm trying to think, like what would be a great team to take a chance, like
Florida State, Miami.
that's not a
Miami.
bad
Miami with
Miami.
Will Wade would be
Miami would
fucking
do it.
sick. Miami with
Honestly,
Will Wade would be fucking sick.
I'll almost be surprised if that doesn't happen, if they don't at least give him a call.
Well, Indiana's gonna thumb their noses at him, and no, we can't
Yeah,
have.
Indiana won't do it. They're a little too full of themselves.
Yeah, which I think Calvin Sampson probably had to get fired from there, right? I'm too young to know the history, and I could look it up, but I don't care. But maybe probably would like if he was still there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Will Wade at Miami would be a ton of fun. And they like would immediately be the second best team in that conference as long as North Carolina pretends Hubert Davis is a good coach. Uh, which who knows how much longer that's going to be. Uh,
Man, I'm still holding out hope that there's just a mass transfer exodus out of there next year. It ain't gonna happen, but a couple guys there I'd like to get my hands on.
so I had this, I was having this thought, like I'm sure there's people that like I'm forgetting about missing, but like, dog, shut up. Is Greg Gard okay, so I think Shire right now is probably one, which it's hard. It's like recruiting is part of coaching. I think Shire's gotten better in game, but like actually, you know what? I'm not going to dock him because like you have seen like what happened to Villanova. Like
Yeah,
Shire should get credit for yes, he was handed the keys to a Ferrari. Yes, he did not crash it, but like
that's proven harder than
people
we would have
crash it.
thought.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of people do crash it. So Shire's probably one. Like, is Greg Gard the second best like
successor
longtime
coach.
program legend hand picks his successor? Like those have gone so badly. Like Neptune, awful. I think it's pretty common sentiment that Bennett retired when he did to give whatever the fuck
Yeah,
his name,
yeah.
guy from
I,
Charlotte, the job. That's gone awful. Syracuse, awful. Uh Texas, weird situation, but you're kidding yourselves. You will never be anything as long as Rodney Terry's there. Um, like the Mike Woodson, which isn't like Mike Woodson isn't the exact same thing, but like that was a sort of weird, like couple big boosters wanted him. Like
yeah, where
it
someone
still
is so
rarely works
clearly
out.
driving a pick. Yeah,
Like I think it just is guard. Like I've thought about it. I can't think of somebody else off the top of my head. And again, I'm sure I'm missing someone like, I'm sure I'm young, I'm 24. Like I'm sure there's someone who's like, oh, he's been there 15 years and
right.
he was handpicked at the time. It's like, all right,
I'm trying
sorry.
to
But
come
like,
up with like
oh,
where did some of these
Tom
guys
Izzo
come
was
from?
handpicked. Like, okay, I didn't fucking know that. Sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
Ohio State hasn't worked. That's
oh
not
yeah,
going
it's
awfully this year, but
they're not enough. I'm not a Diebler guy.
no, no.
Um, so yeah, let's see.
It's the opposite of whatever Utah State does, where they just go find the
Just
best
pick a
coach
random
available
ass
every
guy. It's
year.
like that turns out he's a good coach. Like,
Uh,
yeah, you wouldn't think there's a big Utah State to Youngstown State pipeline, but fucking works. Uh, so I mean, other storylines like I think it's just a fun year again. Like the SEC being so dominant, like it just is a ton of fun because you have three great games every Tuesday and Saturday between like
mhm.
top 15 teams, and then another three between top 30 teams. Like that's a ton of fun. Um, it'll be very interesting. Like I think Duke is going to be a super interesting follow in the tournament because they lost really their two best non-con games. I guess they beat Auburn at home. I take that back.
Yeah.
But they lost two, pretty big games on a neutral, and then they don't really get tested again and they do play Illinois on a neutral. Uh, so they get
Oh
tested.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really random, and I bet Duke is praising God they have that game.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure Shire is. Yeah. Because
yeah,
you're looking. I mean, they still have at Clemson, at North Carolina. Like those aren't awful games, but teams in real conferences play those games, once every 2 weeks.
I mean, that's a if Auburn plays at Clemson, they're taking a big exhale.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
fuck, it's our easiest game in 2 months. Um, which speaking of that, I know I sent it to you, but I gotta read the stretch Alabama's about to go on is so ridiculous. So it starts February 15th. So host Auburn, at Missouri, host Kentucky, host Mississippi State, at Tennessee, host Florida, at Auburn. Like that's one of the most ridiculous stretches of basketball. Like Alabama might be a top five team, and they're probably gonna be what a 7.5 point favorite over Mississippi State. And like
You
that'll
think
be their
Torvik has that as a half point favorite for Alabama?
at home against Mississippi
Oh,
State.
I'm sorry, the last one, not the first one, because they're at Mississippi State on Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say
So I was
there's
gonna
no
say if you
way.
even want to start that, well, they've got two kind of soft ones after that. Yeah, at home against Mississippi State, Torvik has them as 9 point favorites.
Yeah, okay. I can't put them at seven. So yeah.
But yeah, they're projected to win. I mean, which one? Where did you start from Auburn to Auburn
Yes,
or at?
that's how they close the year.
Yeah, they're favored in four of those. That's kind of what I told you the other day. Like if they win five of those, they'll finish what, 24-7. Would that be the most
Assuming they win the
losses
next three.
a one seed
Clippers.
ever has?
If you think they'll get a one seed, it's gonna be tough. I mean, it's gonna be tough because I think Houston, like, I think Auburn gets a one seed unless they fall apart, which I don't really see happening unless Broom gets hurt again somehow, and fuck, they look good without him. Uh,
Houston's
again,
the question mark. Duke's gonna get a one, Auburn's gonna get a one. Well, I should say
Houston's
Houston or
about
Iowa State.
Houston's about to go on like I know they haven't the whole thing is like, they don't have a quad one win. Like, it's about to get really tough for them. Like, at West Virginia, home against Texas Tech, home against Oklahoma State, which is whatever, at Colorado, whatever. But then home versus Baylor, home versus Arizona, or sorry, home versus Baylor, at Arizona State, home versus Iowa State, at Texas Tech, home for Cincy, home for Kansas, at Baylor. Like, it gets a lot tougher.
They
If
could wind
they,
up with seven quad ones out of that.
yeah, if they drop two of those and they go 16-2 in the Big 12 and finish whatever that is, five losses over 26-5 overall, being a top three team by metrics, they'll get a one seed.
Well, because I think that'll be the interesting part. I don't know, when do they do the first bracket reveal? It's like a week or two into February, right? Where
Yeah, that sounds right.
Because by then it will probably be a little closer. Right now, their resume average is like 14, but their
Mhm.
quality is first in BPI, third in Ken Palm, first in Torvik. So it'll give insight early into how the committee is going to view that this year. Because yeah, you said it in response to my question of will Alabama be a one seed, is like probably going to be Duke, Auburn, and then two Big 12 teams, like probably Houston and Iowa State,
I think it
depending
has
on
to
how
be
things shake
those
out.
two Big 12 teams. Like, I don't think if like one of Houston or Iowa State drops like three games between now and the end of the year, then I think Alabama gets a shot to slide in, especially holding the head-to-head over Houston. Not that that
Mhm.
means a ton, but it means maybe something.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of looking tough to figure how many other teams could compete for a one seed. Like again, that's why I think it's going to be an interesting question this year of how many losses proves to be too many for the committee to consider giving you that spot. Because there's a lot of teams up there, the Tennessees, the Floridas, who else is kind of up there right now? Like Illinois is up there in metrics, but not in resume. Purdue's up there in resume and getting there in metrics. Like how many of those teams just kind of won't be considered for those spots based either on the way they started or how many losses they have.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't it's gonna be just like a super interesting bracket overall. And like you think of like I don't know how to balance it just because like the regular season results have to matter, but like you don't want to like you don't want to screw over the one seed. Like that's what I think
Yeah,
people miss about like, oh, like games have to matter. Like I fully agree with that. Um
but if you
but
give Gonzaga the eight they're
if you get
projected
yeah, if
right
you get
now,
Gonzaga an eight seed, like good fucking luck one seed. Like Gonzaga who can drop 100 on any night. Like, yeah, they don't play any defense, but like there's not a team in the country they can't just outscore.
yeah, yeah,
I would
and I mean
fucking hate.
that's really the shit of it is with these super conferences now, it's going to kind of create some of the same problem that you see in football, where a strong non-conference is only going to consolidate. Like, don't get me wrong. Like we've said, I think the SEC absolutely is as good as advertised, is as good as people are saying they are. But those metrics are only getting stronger. Like they're only getting affirmed as they go through conference play because these games are all
Game
just
up.
going to seem like great teams playing great teams. So these resume metrics for a team like Gonzaga, St. Mary's, these outsider teams are going to seem even worse than they usually do because more of these teams are stacking up quality competition.
Yeah, and it's just gonna be very like I mean you're gonna be just shitting yourself on selection Sunday. Like, do you want eight seed Gonzaga or like eight seed
Baylor's an eight
Pittsburgh?
right now.
Yeah, like who do you want? Like, yeah, I'll
Utah
take
State.
fucking Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh
Yeah.
can't dribble the basketball. Yeah, Utah State. I love my mid majors, but like, yeah, who do I want there? Do I want, four seed Texas Tech, or do I want four seed, I don't know, Louisville if they run the table? Um, which I don't know what they're slowly playing up their predictive metrics very high, which
They
I
are,
don't think
yeah.
that's that good. But I don't know.
No,
I'm
I
not
think
as
they're
into like the
taking advantage a
branding.
little bit, but yeah, like and you have a team like Oregon who's the reverse of that, who right now is projected on the four line, and their quality metrics have them in the low 30s.
Yeah, which I kind of agree with the quality metrics. Like
I do too.
I don't know what it is, but like I don't
Well,
tr
you kind of look at it and like, how can a team that's 8-2 in quad one not be a top 15 team in the country? It's however they're doing it.
with neutrals over A&M, San Diego State, and Bama.
Yeah, that Vegas tournament did wonders for them,
Yeah. Um,
playing literally the same three teams that we would have played if those results had flipped. But
yeah. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I guess we can. Do you have any teams that you're like higher, lower on to consensus, or like do you remember any takes from preseason? Like I'll say I think my Baylor take was spot on. Like I
you
still don't
definitely
think
won
that
the
team is
Baylor
good
take.
at all. Um,
Um, I felt better about my Kentucky one 2 weeks ago than I do right now. They'll still be a, five seed at the worst, probably.
yeah, I haven't watched them a ton lately. I've just missed a lot. I guess they didn't play it all last week, so I guess that's why. Um,
They just have a ton of players that are so capable of playing at that level, but they don't really have like go-to guys the way I would have hoped they would in the season by now. The rotations are still kind of not random is maybe the wrong word for it. It's kind of the opposite of the problem we're having right now, where we're using our rotations to carve out roles for guys, and they're kind of just using them. It seems like I think Pope's a really good coach. It's just they have a lot to figure out, and every night is a battle, and I don't know if they've gotten there yet.
yeah, you don't have there is no version of like the DePaul Seton Hall that we just got where like, somebody like Fedor where like yeah, you can play 20 minutes, we can work you into it. Like if you have a turnover or two, fine. Like whatever. Like there's none of that in the SEC. I mean, South Carolina's 0-7 and they should have beat Florida and should have beat Mississippi State just in the last week alone. Like
Yeah.
that's the I think probably clear worst team in that conference. And it was not for a miracle for both teams. Like I want to say they've led for like 119 minutes of game time in their last two games and are 0-2 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, you have your Seton Hall game that we just had where they might have played the best half of basketball they've played all season shooting wise, and we sleptwalked through it, and we went into the half up six and
Yeah.
finished the game on a, like 40-10 run or whatever it was.
Yeah, I watched the first half at a bar and then I went to go coach a basketball game and was pleasantly surprised to see we covered 14 and a half or whatever it was with relative ease.
I mean,
Uh,
Dual was just like 6 of 7 shooting mid ranges in the first half, and once that stopped happening, then it was
yeah,
over.
started out like 1 of 10 from three, I think, and I don't know how we finished, but I'd guess at least a little better.
Yeah, as far as
Um,
other teams to talk about though, like I'm interested to see how the top of the Big Ten shakes out. I think you've got very different teams that are all kind of circling around that area. The whole like Purdue, Illinois, Michigan, Michigan State, even Wisconsin and Maryland are both kind of up there in that discussion metrics wise. Like, I don't
that's
know.
like 14. I did not realize that.
Yeah, yeah. Sparty's up there. Purdue now, I think, is the best team averaging on metrics. Maybe Illinois. It's pretty close.
Yeah,
Turnaround for the Boilers.
I would say I don't know. Illinois just hasn't looked right lately. I would have said they were the best team, but they've lost 3 of 5. And now that Michigan State game was one of the most rigged games I've ever seen. Like that was ridiculous. Um,
Yeah, their game scores haven't looked great in a little while.
no, I mean I don't know. I still Michigan State's like a better Oregon, or like I don't exactly believe in them. I'm not exactly sure why. I guess I'd probably go Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, as like that top tier, and then kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, well, that was something I was kind of gonna maybe suggest is like who are your conference picks for the rest of the season? Like at this point, I think you got a pretty good idea
Yeah,
where things are
yeah.
heading.
So yeah, for the power conferences, I will take Auburn in the SEC. I think that's pretty. I mean, I don't know. I doubt they're going to run the table. If they do it, they need to start going in discussions as one of the best teams ever. Um, like if that Auburn team goes, what would it be? if they somehow go 30-1 with a lone loss at Cameron Indoor with the schedule they played, like that's one of the best teams ever.
Yeah, well, I mean
Um,
the Ken Palm wins above bubble, or the I'm sorry, the Torvik wins above bubble thing that I'm looking at. Like they're at +8 at this point in the season. I don't think that's ever been done before. I know the stat isn't all that old. Like to put it in perspective, the next closest team is at 6.3. Like it
yeah, I mean,
already should be taught. I know he can't do it this early in the season, but sitting here at 18-1 right now, like yeah, you're on top 10 team ever watch right now, if not warning yet.
which is crazy because I was high on this Auburn team. Um, but like I think I even said they were like in the first pod, like, yeah, I don't think there's any like dominant historically great team like last year's UConn team. And yeah, there's
Turns
one,
out.
maybe two. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't as high on Auburn at the start. I didn't love the roster construction with some of the transfers they brought in, but it turns out it kind of just didn't matter because some of their freshmen were just going to carry the weight
Well,
for them.
when your true freshman point guard steps in and can drop 20 on a neutral against Houston, helps a lot.
Yeah, you might be
Um,
okay.
I mean, Cardwell's good. They haven't like arguably like their biggest name transfer was Pegues from Furman. He doesn't even
Yep.
play.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Like, I didn't really like him coming in. I thought it was a weird fit, and I thought they expected him to carry the load, but I guess they knew better.
Yeah. Um, I mean, um, Broom could barely walk, and he still put up like 16 and 12.
ACC, I mean, is just
Uh,
Duke at this point, but
the ACC sucks.
it's bad. We said this last year. Like I think we did something similar like this where we're kind of going conference by conference. We might have spent 5 seconds on the ACC.
Yeah. So let's see. ACC. I mean, I'll take Duke. Does Duke run the table? Yes or no? I think that's the more interesting question.
It's probably I'll actually say yes. I don't see him losing at Clemson. I think they'll wipe the floor with Carolina.
I think I would say yes too. Um, I'll say obviously Duke. Um, the Big 12, and this is for as much as I did just say like, media bootlicker mega conferences are great. This is where it does suck. Like I'll say Houston, and it's because they get the mega advantage over Iowa State. They play them once and it's at home.
Yep.
Like that's kind of bullshit. I would love to see. I'm 90% sure. I want to say it's like the Sun Belt does, and it might be something different where like they leave like the last, or maybe they did it like 2021, where like they leave the last like 2 weeks open, and
Yeah,
then
I remember what you're talking about.
you play like, so if you're like 1 through 5, you all play each other again. If you're 6 through 10, you all play each other. Like, I'd love to see a conference go to that. Now you're gonna have to work out the details because, for example, if it's like, oh, now Houston and Iowa State, you play each other twice, like, okay, that's just the same fucking issue.
Yeah.
Like whoever first home game. But, like, I don't know. I'd love to see something with that. Um, but yeah, I'll take Houston, and I'm not even sure they're better than Iowa State. It's just play them once and it's at home.
Well, yeah, I mean
Uh,
Iowa State's banged up right now. Iowa State still goes to Arizona, to Houston, to Kansas. So I think if nothing else, yeah, like
yeah,
you said, the schedule is just a little more favorable for Houston at this point.
those are tough. Big Ten. Did Purdue and Michigan State play once or twice?
I am checking that right now.
If it's yeah, I'm pulling it up myself. Good
They
research.
got one. They have at it's at Sparty.
Okay. So I mean, I guess I take Michigan State then with oh yeah, Michigan State has a 2 game lead. Yeah, I mean, I guess you just
Yeah,
take Michigan State.
yeah.
Uh,
Purdue still goes to Michigan, to Sparty, to Illinois.
they only play Wisconsin once.
Yeah, Wisconsin at home.
Yeah,
Nothing else
Wisconsin played
really.
there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll also go with Sparty there. Which I mean, I'll say it. I'm pretty surprised by that.
I am too. I mean, I faded this team the last 2 years, I think. I for sure was out on them last year.
I was
Um,
gonna say that if Izzo's finally riding a little bit with Carr. I didn't realize he's only 6'6". He plays a lot bigger than that.
just finally riding somebody who could dunk on a 11-foot hoop pretty easily.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, WCC, like, is St. Mary's just gonna win it outright? Like, I think they probably
At
do,
this
right?
point, I would imagine they are the favorites to do so, right?
Well, they have a 2-game lead on Gonzaga,
Yeah,
so even if they both run the t if Gonzaga wins out and St. Mary's just beats everyone except them, uh, that's it. Now they do have this Wednesday like tough game going to
at Santa
Santa Clara
Clara.
and then hosting
Yeah.
Gonzaga Saturday. Like
And then turn
that's
around and go at San Francisco. Like there's a shot
they're,
they go 0 and 3.
so,
At San Francisco, at Oregon State. They got a tough
I was
2 weeks ahead of them.
yeah, which I'll say WCC like very good job by their leadership to scoop up Washington State and Oregon State. Like those have been great like
Yes.
middle of the pack teams like quad one road games, which they did beat Gonzaga, which should have that's kind of Gonzaga's fault. And like quad two home games, like that's a big deal.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how you become like a I don't know, kind of like what the A10 used to be, getting 2, 3 bids every year.
yeah, our buddies the A10. But yeah, I wonder. Like I know they've split it a couple times in recent years. Actually, St. Mary's won it outright last year, so I take it back. Um, that was the last time it happened. Forgot about that.
Honestly, with that remaining schedule, I might stick Gonzaga then, even with the 2 game disadvantage.
What does Gonzaga have? Do they still have to go to Santa Clara, right?
Yes, because they have a true double round, don't they?
Yeah, they have double round robin, yeah. Maybe they
They
should add
go
Dave. Fuck it up.
they go to Washington State, and then the last week of the season is home against St. Mary, or I'm sorry, last 2 weeks is at Wazoo, home St. Mary's, at Clara, at San Fran.
Okay.
So they might
Yeah.
catch them by then, but that week will really make the difference.
Yeah. So I mean, in regards to Gonzaga, I was high on this team preseason and I thought they would just outscore everyone and like they've outscored a lot of teams, but like I think it's probably time to admit, like, this team could absolutely, clip someone in a 1-game setting, which I also have an idea. Like, how about like if both teams are eliminated, like the Wednesday between the Elite Eight and Final Four, like let's just let Gonzaga and Illinois play a game and just set an over-under of like 190, which I guess isn't that far off the Kentucky Bama game. But like give me a somehow, some way, find me like a Gonzaga, Illinois, Kentucky, like two of those teams playing. Like that game would be so fun.
It would. And it's kind of hard to isolate what Gonzaga's problem is beyond. I mean, the obvious is just fucking place any kind of defense, and you're gonna win some games here.
I think it just is that. Yeah, I mean like Nemhard obviously is not a strong defender. EK does not protect the rim at all. Um, I mean, it just kind of
Yeah,
goes to that. Like,
Huff and Greg are just pylons out there. I don't
yeah,
think Battle plays much defense.
no, and I think you kind of expected. I don't know. I think you kind of expected them to be pilot. Like their defense is only rated 58th, which I'll take the over on that. Like,
Yeah,
look at a lot of teams' defense I would rather have than theirs. Um, but yeah, I don't. They can clip a team in a 1-game format, but like them winning the title, probably not.
something that requires 6 straight, at least decent defensive performances. I don't think it favors them at this point.
Um,
All right, so anything else on talking WCC?
Probably not. It's the no, no. It's a good conference, and I don't know. I do think St. Mary's is pretty good this year. Um, Interesting to see, I guess, how they're just like a weird team. It feels like where they got absolutely smoked last year in the tournament, which I can't really see. I saw coming. Um, no, that's about it.
All right. Yeah, and I mean anything else really trending? I mean, I'm looking at Memphis as a bid. Steelers are just praying they don't lose in the tournament at this point.
That's
Uh,
hilarious. And for as much as people shit on Penny Hardaway, like he realized that his team like plays at the level of their competition, and then a non-con was like, all right, like we're just gonna play killers all non-con and lost the home game against Arkansas State, who's not a bad team by any means, but just kind of funny how right he was in regards to that.
I feel like we might as well. We probably should at least mention West Virginia, putting together the season they've been doing without Tucker DeVries for the lion's share of their conference slate so far.
Yeah, very impressive by them. We'll see if they can keep it up. Um, I think they just got waxed at K-State, which was surprising to me. Um, I mean, shit, the final score was 13. That game was
It
a
was
lot
not
worse than
13 for
13.
most of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes of that. They're gonna need DeVries back. Javon Small has been incredible. I don't know how long that persists. Um, so we'll see. I mean, that's a team that I think could fall out, and I think that's going to be a bubble team come Selection Sunday, or even a NIT two seed.
I
Um,
kind of leaned that way too. I like if you told me a team to pick just off the top of my head right now, that probably won't be where they are right now. But the schedule is not going to be too gruesome heading down the stretch. They're favored in what's that? Three, four, five, six, seven of the remaining 12, and
well,
some by a pretty decent margin.
a lot of those are borderline because I only have five on Kempo.
It looks like TCU could flip pretty easily. BYU could flip pretty easily. The rest seem pretty solid.
BYU or Utah. They're 7-point dogs to BYU per Kempo.
I've got them as 2.5 point to who? To Utah?
To BYU.
The away I've got them as 6 point dogs. The home game I've got
Oh,
them
okay,
as
yeah,
point
yeah.
and a half
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm
favorites.
with you
Yeah.
now. Okay, yep. Um, yeah, I mean the mountain trip is going to be tough for them. I don't know. I'll say they missed the tournament.
Really? Okay. Because I mean, what do they have to do at this point to make it? What are they sitting at record wise right now? 13 and
They're
6.
13 and but
If I
KenPom
mean if they're
projects
10
them
and 10
19 and
and
12.
if they're 10 and 10 in the Big 12, they're getting in.
10 and 10 with bad metrics though.
With a win over Iowa
Metrics,
State, with
they're
the
48.
I mean I think they do. I don't see a way they're leaving out a 10 and 10 team in the Big 12. Their metrics aren't great. They're 34th in Torvik. Their resume average is 30th. Like as long as they hold pat the rest of the way, I don't think they'll get left out.
If you lose, I mean, they're projected to lose their next three. They're not going to lose to TCU. That team fucking sucks. So if they lose to Houston, lose at Cincinnati, which I hate that team. We can touch on that so I can just rant how fucking awful they are on offense. Bet on them once, never again. So if they lose to Houston, I mean, I'll say they lose one of Cincinnati or TCU just because they're projected to lose both. Uh, lose at Baylor, lose at Texas Tech, and go 0-2 in the mountains. I mean, that
That'd
would
be
be
9
pretty
and
rough.
11. That would yeah, well, that's the question. If they get to 10 and 10, I think they're in. 9 and 11, the metrics make it a little easier to leave them out because as much as they won't admit that it's true, I think in a pretty consistent trend over the last few years is if you've been 500 in a top 3 or 4 conference, you get in most of the time.
In general, depending on metrics, like Benny, how'd that go for the Big East last year?
Well, and that's why I think there was such a raucous about it, despite the fact that I think you could have justified it.
I was fine with it. I had no issue.
Yeah, I think I had Seton Hall as my last team in, and St. John's as like my third team out or something like that when I did my last one.
This is not the college football playoff. If you don't get in the tournament, and you are a power conference team, you have zero people to blame but yourself.
Yeah, if you're at
Seton
the
Hall,
point
don't
where
get
you're on the
fucking
bubble,
waxed.
there hasn't been a team that's been on the bubble in recent years where you're like, it would be a disgrace if this team doesn't get in, like at least for power
Indiana
conferences,
State,
like
I
you
don't
said.
care.
Huh?
Indiana State.
Oh
Indiana
yeah, I said
State.
for power conferences.
Yeah.
Because yeah, at
Uh,
some point you have to look at the sport. The whole conversation around Indiana State was what else would you have to do? And that's the same problem that college football has been having for the last few years.
yeah. Um,
If you want to talk about Cincinnati, I'd be more than happy to, because that's
yeah, sure.
another one I'm
Yeah, sure.
happy to be right
Fuck
on
that.
from the preseason pod.
Fuck that. Yeah, I think I was out. Like it was what did they ever done? What did Wes Miller ever done? Like you go to him in the offseason, you say we're taking 500,000 off your salary and you're gonna use it to pay a top offensive assistant or you're done. So you can coach a defense clearly. Like that team is so fucking terrible on offense. Like I think they're 14th defensively, like 136th offensive. They're just
Yeah.
opposite econ. They should have those two teams play each other.
Ken
Really
Palm had or Torvik has him as 166th on offense, 12th on defense.
disgusting. Like I said, I bet on them. This is not, I lost a bet, which I did get mad on Friday and bring up McCaffrey's kid killing somebody. But
Yeah.
that's because it's graceful too. Um, but like, I mean, they scored like 12 points at home against Kansas in the second half or something. Like, you put up 45, and I don't know, that could just be slander. Like, they're terrible on offense. Like, get him out of there. Like, I don't get any of the infatuation with him. I don't get why people thought this team would be good. Like, they've never been able to score. They still can't. Yeah, they scored 40 points at home against Kansas. Get the fuck out of here with 15. So it wasn't even wrong. In my angry exaggeration, I was 3 points off. 0.66 points per possession. That is so bad. You shot two free throws in the game. How do you shoot two free throws in a conference game?
They are 355th in the nation in free throw rate on offense.
Yeah, that might be an issue.
Yeah.
Let me get easy points, get to the damn line. You shoot
Like I just
31% from three. And when they do get there, they shoot 64%.
yeah.
That's even
No, they don't
worse.
even practice it because they know they're not getting there, right?
Yeah, that's probably not a bad point. Yeah, this
I
was
just
it was ninth in Ken Palm at one point. Yeah, good fucking luck.
it was one of those things where even in the preseason, every year it just seems like a couple of teams get their narrative pushed for whatever reason, like people just wanting a team to be good.
Like
I think
Creighton
this
2 years ago, except for that narrative, right? But that was why, and that's why, like, when people were getting offended, like, I thought the team 2 years ago would be good. Like, they were good. They finished 12th overall. The results themselves weren't great. Like, when people are like, oh, like, why do you hate Creighton? Like, yeah, there is some precedent of like team that was solid brings everybody back, but just doesn't get that much better. Like that
right.
wasn't like Cincinnati doing this is not like one of the craziest things to ever happen. It's
No.
very on the table if you actually have a brain.
No. And I think like you said, I think we both called it in the preseason when we're looking at the roster, like, it's a lot of guys who could contribute. There's not really star power. There's not guys who are going to be able to generate offense. They don't play within an offense. It it's just not that good of a team.
Uh, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm sick of them. I'm sick of that program. Get out.
Yeah.
Also, random comment, like, is there a more irrelevant team than UCF? Like, I've
It's
made this comment before. Like, it'd be like if UCF just like quit playing basketball this year, like, would anyone notice?
it's funny they're projected in 11 right now according to Tor.
Which, in a way, almost like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they're on the bubble. Like, I don't think I've
Nobody's
heard a
talking about
word
them.
said about them.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is kind of
they're,
funny considering their roster construction.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, with the
Just doing
felons.
last chance you at the power conference level.
Yeah, as opposed to last chance you at the eighth grade level, like I'm
Yeah.
doing. We did just learn our best player broke his foot, which is fucking devastating.
Suspensions, injuries. Mr. Dennis is speed running the Creighton Blue Jays
Dude, I
season.
have. Like I've got more fucking I mean, I'm probably more qualified than Gottlieb at this point. That's a good question. Fuck, that might be a good question.
You have now spent more time coaching basketball than he has.
Yeah, I've coached a couple years of baseball, which like isn't obviously one to one, like it's coaching. Like I think it'd be like I think if you told me I was coaching Green Bay next year right now, I think I could maybe get more. I don't know.
What is he at? 2-18?
I think they're 2-20.
Yeah.
No, not 2-18. It might be 2-18 in 20 games.
Yeah, I'd give you
Yeah,
a
they're
shot at it.
hilariously bad. They're so bad. It's funny.
I'm
Look
I
at
I'm
the
still
little
I don't
fair now. They
regret.
are they are very hurt now.
Yeah,
But
and I
like,
don't regret taking a chance on them in our pool.
I mean, they're probably have the most talent in that league.
They got the most talent of any team in the bottom 100 in Ken Palm, but you know,
Wait, I was gonna say Miami, but they're not there yet.
not quite. Yeah, getting there.
They had Miami hit a little snag when they went 14 to 27 from deep. But what are you gonna do? You live by the three, you die by the three, right, Wisconsin?
That's a plan a lot of teams use. DePaul being one of them, it worked out a little.
DePaul sucks. I'm so glad I never fell for that shit in the non-con when I was like, oh, this DePaul team's good. Like, could they get a bid? No. It's the tweet I put out. Like, you were rewarding DePaul because they only ate two glue sticks instead of their usual five. Like, oh, look at DePaul. Like, good for DePaul. They haven't lost to Lindenwood this year. Woohoo,
You weren't
this team.
convinced by them, improving after taking Southern Indiana to overtime?
Yeah, in fucking game one, yeah, clown Big East barroom, DePaul 4, UConn 5. Get the fuck out of here, you idiot. Which I was gonna say this earlier too, when you said like what you said something about conference play, and you meant the good teams. The tweet he had was very funny where like he posted the Big East teams and it was like the Big East being good like helps every team in the conference improve. Like, no, it doesn't.
It does
Like,
not.
how do you think that? Like, do you think like if Creighton beats DePaul by 40, Creighton moves up 10 spots and DePaul just stays there? Like, I did somebody had a good bait tweet of like once again the SEC is completely overrated after starting off the season like whatever 150 and 17. They only boast a 58 and 58 record since like December 20th or something, and like you had a lot of people falling for it in the
Yeah,
conference. And
yeah.
love a good bait.
Well, it's not because of like, oh, it makes, it improves the metrics of every team. It solidifies it. That's what I say. It consolidates them. So you don't have like your better teams dropping down to the 30s and 40s in metrics when they lose to your mid-tier or your lower tier teams. It's everybody kind of keeping their water level, right? Like, so these games where Mississippi State slaps someone, gets slapped the next week, they're holding pat at 20. Their metrics aren't bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, and there's less minefields, I guess. Like, it's a little bit not like the Creighton's done good work for the bubble, but like, like a loss. Hopefully they don't lose to Xavier, but like it wouldn't kill them if they did. Whereas like, these ACC games, like for as much as the conference sucks, like Louisville dropping a random home game to Cal or something, like that would be a big deal.
Yeah.
And like for as much as I shit on Miami, like I think they're gonna get someone just because they have talent. Like Matthew Cleveland is very good. And I don't know if I sorry, Pack, if this is slander, but like I kind of doubt Nigel Pack is working super hard to get ready to go. Like I might guess he's cashing his life wallet checks and not exerting himself too hard to get back to a top 270 team. Like if he ever comes back, like there'll be games where Miami just has the two best players on the floor. Now, are they gonna try? Probably not. But like so not having those is a big deal.
Yeah, no, it is. And
Compared to
I,
like up a home game to South Carolina, like, oh, you have a quad two loss. Like the fuck cares?
yeah. Well, so as we kind of use that as a transition to get back into talking about the Big East, I mean, like, again, I just, where Dennis and the Doc were right. Like, the league is having another down year and it should be to the surprise of no one.
Yeah, the middle just sucks, which we kind of said. Like Butler, Butler, I think has no money. Seton Hall, I think clearly has no money. Which so you saw the Pitino quote of like, oh, if Richmond's money was close, like if Seton Hall had the same money, Richmond would be there. If it was close, Richmond would be there.
Yeah.
And like, Goodman or some insider came out and said like that's not true, which like seems like a very weird thing to just make up.
I don't really believe it. I think that's him kind of trying to give Shaw a little credit or Seton Hall a little
Yeah.
credit. But no, I,
Yeah.
I don't think that's true
Yeah.
either.
Also,
I
hang on, go off for a minute. I'm gonna call.
for some of it, believe me, I don't think Seton Hall is well funded at all. I think I've said this before that I think there are serious teams in the conference and then there are deeply unserious teams. DePaul has always been deeply unserious. They're kind of starting to get serious now. Seton Hall is getting more unserious. Butler has stayed unserious. Georgetown
Let him
might
go
be
again.
starting to trend in the right direction, but there's just such a difference between the haves and the have-nots in this league right now. And thankfully, I think we're on the right side of it for the time being. But again, to create this illusion that the conference is one of the two or three best in the nation, which is going to get even harder now that all these conferences have 18 teams in them. You can't have your Seton Halls and DePauls right now. You can't have Providence just being a fucking mediocre at best team under English, because I think that's exactly what it's going to be. You can't have Butler wallowing in mediocrity. Xavier, they've had different kinds of problems this year. Nova should be a better team than they are. They've got the money to bring in a good roster. They just need a fucking better coach, right? So some of it will balance out, but some of these teams need to realize that they're not doing enough, that they need to get more serious in this era, especially when you look at some of the we're a basketball podcast. I'm not going to go off about some of these, programs, volleyballs or baseball teams, but it's a fucking disgrace. Do I need to keep rambling? All right, I'll keep going. So I will talk about it. Like some of these teams in Big East volleyball, you've got basically two teams that really care, two teams that kind of care, and then the rest, like it's surprising that they field a program at all. Like UConn, Marquette, and Creighton are pretty serious across all sports. St. John's is iffy. Some of the other schools have a sport or two. Xavier does some of their sports really well, like baseball. You've got Creighton is sometimes serious about baseball, getting a little more serious if this year is any kind of indication. Xavier's pretty serious about it. They play a good schedule. UConn's really good, but the profile of the conference at the whole, when you're going to play Seton Hall at a parking garage, you're going to play Butler's team that has like one uniform and wears gray jerseys at home or something like, just stupid kind of shit like that makes you realize how much of this conference is still either underfunded, incapable of being funded, or unwilling to try to play with the big boys in some of these sports. Whereas you know, it becomes harder to make the case against a team like UConn maybe trying to go to the Big 12 when you say they take all of their sports seriously. How should they still be expected to play in a conference that doesn't? Now, I was watching the Creighton DePaul the volleyball game near the end of the season. It was played at like a high school gym with like a track overseeing the floor. It looked like the KFC was hosting the number 5 volleyball team in the country. Like that's a disgrace. And some of these schools are just unwilling to invest in these programs, unwilling to invest in themselves, or unable to. Now, DePaul, you look at that, you say they're the biggest Catholic school in America or something like that. They're in Chicago. They should have tons of money, tons of donors. Some of these schools just can't fucking put it together, though. Basketball is often needed to raise the profile of programs like this. Wintrust is a beautiful arena. It's nowhere fucking near campus, so that's a little bit of a problem. Like they're doing the right things at least by bringing in a guy like Holtman. They're getting better for as much as we make fun of them. Like it'll be a process. They'll be like a top 130 team this year, maybe a top 110 team next year if they stick with it long enough. But you're seeing what's needed to compete at this level in this age. You need a budget. You need coaches that know what they're doing and are willing to commit to the modern age of basketball. You need ADs and boosters and big donors who are empowered to assist the program, who are willing to, who are not holding anything back, right? Like when people had the discussions like, oh, are Mac and Blossom having a falling out or something, like stuff like that's a big deal.
All right,
You
I'm
really
back.
need you really need like harmony amongst your program and amongst your athletic department. And these schools don't have it. And it's a big hole to dig yourself out of because if you're not going to have these multi-million dollar operating NIL budgets that some of these schools have, you need to have that harmony. You can still do things the old-fashioned way. It's just harder, and these schools are doing themselves no favors. Anyways,
Give me the TLDR on what you said.
that there are serious athletic programs in the Big East, and there's some deeply unserious ones that are holding the rest back.
Yeah. Do you think all our issues would be fixed by just adding Dayton?
Yeah, we might as well just add the team that can't compete in the A10 or that can't easily run over the A10.
Fucking losers.
For all the people that say like Creighton joining the Big East was kind of very weird and ambitious at the time, and to be honest, they're very right. But we were dominating the Valley, right? Like Xavier and Butler were pretty much dominating their leagues when they got moved over to the Big East. This would not be the same thing. Like, don't get me wrong, Dayton's been the best team in the Big East over the last decade. They
A10.
don't they don't add anything. They do not add something that is of such significant value that it should defeat the round robin. You can say, and I know you've said this before, like trade them for DePaul, you'd do it. I wouldn't because even though nobody in Chicago really cares about DePaul, TV executives do. TV executives care that there's a school in the Chicago market, no matter how misguided that logic might be. That's part of the reason we're getting media deals that we are. We are gaining not an extra dollar, not an extra dime, not an extra cent by adding Dayton to the conference.
What
Nothing.
do you mean? The one person said Cincinnati has a big TV market. We're not there.
Yeah, we're not in or in Southwest Ohio. We have none of that market whatsoever.
That's, that was one of the funnier comments I got during that whole thing.
Yeah,
When you
you had a couple good ones.
get that, and then I even love that I said February because I didn't look at the schedule or anything. But yeah, when I said enjoy the February road game against George Washington, then they lost it by 20. Said thanks, we will. Boy, were you wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
I just there I it's one of the dumber things that people talk, and don't get me wrong, like I love doing, I think it's fun to do like the who should the Big East add kind of thing. But I think you're absolutely joking if you think we should break the double round robin or break your TV shares for adding anyone who isn't a major impact school. And I mean major. I mean like those kind of like joking things last couple of years where they were saying like Duke or Kansas might be available if the Big 12 or ACC falls. Like that's the kind of school you're talking about, not Dayton, not St. Louis, not VCU. You know, like you could say like Syracuse maybe, Pitt maybe, but probably not. You know, like that's the kind of profile it would have to take.
Gonzaga.
You would have to add enough things to the conference. You'd have to fit the ideals of the conference. You'd have to, you know, like even UConn right now is causing problems by the way they're looking to leave, right? Like, thank God we just signed the new TV deal already, because if we were trying to do that while they're trying to leave for the Big 12, I don't know how successful we'd be in doing that. You would need a team that is going to create income for the schools, because these smaller schools that don't have football supplying so much of their revenue, we need these media rights deals. The reason the Big East has been successful throughout history, and I mean dating back to the very early days of the Big East, is because these small schools knew they needed a higher operating budget, they needed a stage, so they went to TV networks. They acquired schools in TV markets specifically for the reason of attracting viewership. That in turn created players who wanted to go to these schools, suddenly could recruit at a higher level. These coaches were able to coach at a higher level. They attracted coaches, they attracted money. And then these schools were able to treat basketball seriously, despite like Creighton 50 years ago. How different are we than a Drake, than a, you know, St. Thomas is right now? We made the decisions that we needed to make in order to increase our budget to take sports more seriously. We were able to take basketball more seriously because of the way we invested in it, because of some of the success we had. Even before we came to the Big East, we put ourselves in a position to jump to a higher conference like that with some of the decisions we made. So the Big East isn't going to go out there and add for the sake of adding. Dayton does not do anything
Hopefully.
for you. As much as Loyola, I like Loyola and I think they'd be a decent fit and I think they would actually increase their profile right away. They're not going to be an addition to the Big East. St. Thomas, as much as we kind of like joke about this, is maybe the closest thing you're going to get in the next 10 years to an addition the Big East might look at and go, huh, there might be some value there. Because that's a new TV market. It's a place where recruiting has been really strong lately. A lot of guys coming out of the Minnesota area. It's a school that fits the ideals of the conference. They're not there yet, but they're doing the right things to invest in their program. They're what, like a 115th right now or something like that? Like they're trending in the right direction. That's not a crazy addition. In fact, if you told me in 10 years would I rather have St. Thomas or Dayton in the conference, I might genuinely say St. Thomas.
I'd say St. Thomas just to piss Dayton off. That alone might be fucking funny.
Oh, it'd be
They just
hilarious.
they just took St. Thomas. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Do it right now. That'd be even funnier. I don't care what it's like.
If
Oh,
UConn
oh,
leaves, your first call is to St. Paul, Minnesota.
what St. I don't know. They could be a bottom 200 team every year. Congrats, you have DePaul.
Yeah, congrats. You're doing the exact same. Seton Hall's 204th right now. Like, what would we really be losing? 204th playing in front of nobody with five players you've never heard of before on the floor. How different would it really be?
You think Holloway leaves?
If somebody offers, I think he should if somebody offers. Although I know he's got, you know, personal connection and sometimes that overrides it, but like I don't see things improving there anytime soon.
Maybe we can go to Providence. They need a coach.
They need a coach. Yeah, because
Um,
if you're Mata or Holloway right now, like surely you're jumping at the first offer somebody gives you, right?
Probably. I know Mata has a ton of suitors, but
No, I wouldn't think so, but like he's not that bad of a coach. I don't know.
no, I think he's probably a fine coach, but Yeah, and I don't know because they were good to start the year. And I mean, they've been close, I guess, in a couple of games. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, just be happy you are one of the schools with NIL.
Yeah. But as far as the Big East goes, what do you like the rest of the way?
Um, so what? St. John's undefeated.
Oh no, we beat them. I think them and Marquette
Oh
are
yeah,
tied
yeah, yeah.
for
Okay, one
first.
loss. Yeah, one loss. But they also haven't played anyone.
Yeah, they have the toughest remaining schedule, I think, of the top four teams.
So what is standings here? Shit. Um,
Here, I'll just run it down so everyone can. We got
I got
Marquette
it.
at 8-1, St. John's at 8-1, Creighton at 7-2, UConn at 6-3.
I'll say Marquette gets it done.
Yeah, I lean that way. I think we'll get them when they come to Omaha. So I don't know. Part of me wants to just say St. John's for the fun of it, but no, I'll stick with Marquette too.
I mean, speaking of like, I I know he said like Big East down. Like, I think this conference kind of sucks. Like, I don't think Marquette is that good.
I expect no noise out of this conference in the tournament. I will
I
be surprised if we get more than one sweet. I'll be stunned if we get more than one Sweet 16 team.
I would agree with that. I still, you know, I will still say I think of anyone to make the Sweet 16, I'd still take UConn. Which again, I know they don't play defense. McNeely should be back soon. Still take their coaching staff. Um, I don't know. St. John's is a weird case where like I think I said this the other day, like they could very easily be undefeated. Like
Yeah,
1 point double OT loss to Baylor that they had no business losing. 3 point loss to Georgia when they went, what it was, it 2 of 19 from three. 1 point loss at Creighton. Like they very easily could be undefeated.
yep. It's just
On the
you
other side
just
of that,
look at
then like they could have easily lost to Xavier. They could have easily lost a lot of games. Like they've lost to the three best teams they've played. Like,
yeah, and the defense dependent team that struggles to shoot on any given. It just is the profile for an early exit in the
yeah.
tournament. It feels like every year.
Okay, let's on that same uh on that wavelength, give me like your like dream like tournament upset matchup or like a cup one. Like you can go to them at like different levels.
A
Um
15 seed UNO playing a 2 seed Kansas.
yeah. I
I
mean
think.
Kansas is absolutely like a team that could get upset.
Oh,
Like
I don't even think that one's that unrealistic.
UNO winning. Where did you, what did you vote in my poll of the round of 32 poll?
What was it?
You can choose one of the two, and by choosing one option, it doesn't mean the other can't
Oh, I chose
happen.
I
It
chose the
just
UNO one.
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That would be so fucking funny.
I think it'd be hilarious.
Like I
UNO
would
getting their first tournament win before Nebraska does is one of the top five things in my life I want to happen right now.
why what happened to that team? Like
They're just not that good. Like
yeah.
it's one of those things like you could kind of see it when they were winning their games, like how dependent they were on Williams having a really good night, how dependent they were on these hack-a-shack bigs, like doing anything to contribute. Like they're just not that talented. And teams that aren't as dependent or like were as dependent as we were in that game, like I think if we play them again, it's not an easy win. Like they'll still do the same kind of style that fucks with us. It just doesn't fuck with other teams as much.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we've gotten better. Dermot's figured some stuff out, but yeah.
No, I think UNO beating Kansas would be fucking hilarious. Um, I don't know. Let me.
Oh, I will also take a little bit of a victory lap when Isaacs got hurt. And I think we both correctly said like, eh, like,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I'd
It was
take
one of
him.
those things I wanted to clip it at the time because it was one of those things I knew people were going to get mad that we said when we
Yeah,
said. I think your exact words were, "I don't think it really changes anything." Like that's
probably.
kind of stuck
Yeah,
in my head that when you said it, you said, "I don't really think it changes that much." And you
yeah.
could
Oh,
say
was
like
that right?
maybe, yeah, I mean, you could say like maybe we'd be in an even better place with him right now, but that's pretty hard to figure.
I'm not gonna take my chances. Don't mess with things going well.
Yeah.
It's good. Team with Popeye, which could be anything. It could even be a team that's 7-1 in their last eight.
Yeah, like who
So
else?
yeah, I
What
mean,
other upsets would I like? Looking like Bradley, I kind of like this
you
year
see
out of
it
the
around
12.
Memphis.
That's good. Yeah, 6-11, that'd be fun. Or a 5-12.
I said it in the chat the other day, like Wisconsin 100% could lose first round, but like that's also not a team I would want to play just because they shoot so many fucking threes and
Well,
shoot it pretty well.
how about
They,
Wisconsin Samford in the first round?
I have not seen a lick of Sanford ball this year.
Well, you know what it
Speaking of
looks
Sanford,
like.
or it was a Chor, right? It was a cock who
A
transferred
co-
from Sanford to
a
K-State.
core, a core. Yeah.
Yeah, a core. Yeah, transferred to K-State, not even on the team. Like, hey, maybe like that. Maybe like do that one over. Um, yeah, I mean UC Irvine, giant killer. Whoever comes out of that Big West is giant killer.
High Points
Because
is
I think
finally
UC
coming
Padua takes
around.
like a ton of threes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sick of that team. I thought they would be really good, and I lose every time I bet on them. But yeah, I mean, still wouldn't want to play them. Like they're still very talented.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Who else would I want? No part of. I I don't know if this is a good or bad take, but like I'm not really scared of McNeese again. Like sort of
I
seems like we
can't say
just
I watched them
this
in like
last year.
2 months, so
Oh, I watch him every Monday. I'm trying to. I was hoping the spread would get up to 9 instead of went back down to 8, and I was gonna punch back. But yeah, I bet them every Monday, and they just kill whoever they play. Um, so I mean, yeah, they lost to a lot of the best teams they played. They did have a win over North Texas, which that's aging really well. Just North Texas outside shot at an at large? Question mark.
I feel like it's this time of year every year where I like throw them on a bracketology, like my bubble watch or whatever, and then they lose 2 games in that week and go away.
Yeah, God, the American. How did the American get worse than Conference USA when American took every Conference USA team that they wanted?
They got to hand pick the teams they wanted to join the
What
conference and
the
forgot to like
fuck did they get worse?
it's a great question. North Texas projected to win all of their remaining games for what it's worth.
Yeah, so if they run the table, like they're 50th right now in Ken Palm, like say they
They
get
could
up to
finish
40th at
they
25
finished
and
29
5,
and 4, yeah.
25 and 5 with no losses outside of quad 8 or quad 1 or 2. Like
Yeah, that you got a shot.
loss at McNeese, neutral to Utah State, at Memphis, like they're three tough games. Other loss at High Point and what was the other one? Oh, no, that's it. Yes, they'd have
Yeah,
four
that's it,
losses.
4 losses.
Yeah, that's a
They
pretty
do
tough.
not. I mean, they won't. They have 3 quad 2 games left on the schedule and nothing even approaching a quad 1. But
You
yeah,
know what
I don't.
they feel like there has to be one disgusting first four game. How about them in Cincinnati? I mean, it's just like 50 to 47.
I don't know if Cincinnati's winning 5 more games this
Oh, I
season.
don't think so either, but like just for like let's just do it because it'd
Them
be
in
fun.
West Virginia would be pretty disgusting.
Yeah, fuck yeah, that's close enough.
Or how about SMU? North Texas
No, I don't
SMU.
want SMU near my tournament. Fuck that team.
That's exactly the kind of game that would be though.
Fuck that team. No, it's not because it's a fuck. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, SMU, I think is what they've played four quad one games this year, and
0 and
they're
4 and
0
have
4
gotten
with an
pumped
average
in
defeat of
every
like
one of them.
19.
Yeah.
Beat
Mississippi
Miami by
State by
42.
5 at home is their only close one.
Yeah, Butler by 11. Duke by 27. You suck.
Carolina by 15. I mean, I
Get
was
them out. Yeah, I don't need them near my tournament. I mean, fuck. UC Irvine and North Texas. UC Irvine 191st in offense, 7th in defense. I mean, that's very much like a flirting versus harassment, like them in Cincinnati, like middling power conference team rated fifth, like in the 50s in analytics, like very good mid-major team rated in the 50s in analytics. Like, yeah, I don't fucking care. You know what? I like mid-majors better.
and then you get like Xavier, New Mexico in the other first 4 game as like your palate
Yeah.
cleanser.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, all right. This is a good idea. I like this. Or let's put another fun matchup, Arkansas and UC Irvine in a first four game and just watch John Calipari try to figure out their zone. Like Arkansas might score 20 points. That would be so fucking fun. Yeah, let's do that. Put UC Irvine. That's the Ben
If
Livingston
UC
thing
Irvine
level.
loses to UC San Diego, make that the first game of the college basketball cup or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. All right, good. I feel like we've come up with some good stuff here today.
Yeah, yeah,
Where's
yeah.
my Leukton jersey? Let's go. Arrived at facility.
We
A
should
gold and
probably.
blue Ben
Is this?
Leukton jersey. Anteaters.
Do you think people expect Creighton basketball talk on this Creighton basketball podcast?
No. If
No.
they do, Creighton's fine. Uh, I don't know. You've done a good job giving yourselves a little margin for error. If you go 3-0 this next stretch, you're basically a lock. Um, you can probably afford to lose one, which credit to you for putting yourself in position to do that. Um, yeah, I don't know. Go 2-2 over these next 4 games. Don't lose shit. They do have a tough stretch coming up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is kind of your season defining stretch right here, probably.
I mean, if you go 4-1, which you're a 1 point dog to Villanova and a 1 point dog to Marquette, you're a 6 point favorite over Xavier, 4 point over Providence, 4 point over UConn. If you go 4-1 in that stretch, like you could probably play yourself up to like a 6 seed.
Yeah, well, that's somebody asked me a question on Twitter the other day when I did my bracket release, like what's the ceiling seed wise for the Creighton team? Could this be like a baby Jays-esque run? Is there a chance we could play in Wichita the first weekend or something like that? Is it like a weird four? I don't think that's in the question, like unless you literally win out the rest of the way. But yeah, I don't think a six seed is too far fetched at all. Like you said, you take care of business this next week or two here. You win those two games at home, don't lose to Xavier on Wednesday, which I think is going to be easier said than done. Yeah, you could absolutely find yourselves in an not just wearing white on the first day of the tournament, but in a pretty advantageous spot.
Aaron White on the second day when Memphis loses to UC Irvine.
Yeah. All right, here I'm gonna do the next meeting.
Yeah.
All right, actually, I'll just let you do it right now. So we just switched to the next meeting because we have to do that. Mr. Dennis has requested a tirade, so go ahead, have your
Yeah,
rant.
when I was checking on Twitter, like in the minute between, you know what pisses me the hell off? When there's like every national champion since 2000 has fit these except for the three that didn't. Like, shut the fuck up. Those are so annoying. Like, oh, how'd you
One
choose
Penn Stater,
24?
a Penn
Yeah,
Stater
oh,
has
that's
appeared in every Super Bowl.
yeah, every except for five. Yeah. Yeah, like every team that's won the championship has been 11th in offense and at least 17th in defense. These are the 8 teams that fit the criteria, so the champion will be from this. And like, yeah, you know what's going to happen if the champion's 19th in defense this year? It's going to be 19th next year. Like, those stats are so fucking stupid. I can't, like, God, I hate them. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, oh, based on past trends, these 4 teams are most likely to be champion. Auburn, Duke, Iowa State, Houston. Fucking really. Fucking
Yeah,
really.
couldn't have guessed.
Thank you. Thank you for, yeah, how else could we have got that than your day one 101 intro to data science level analysis? How fucking else could we have figured that out? All right, that's all.
All right. No, that's worth it. But yeah, it's been nice now that the last couple of weeks you start seeing. I do not care about the AP poll at all. Like we weren't in it today. UConn was like I could not care any less. It's nice popping up on the metric screens again. Your power rankings, your top 30s, your 40s, whatever.
Ooh,
Care
I will
about
say
them.
AP poll counterpoint. Like I'm like, yeah, us being ranked today. Don't or not being ranked. Don't fucking care. I am a big proponent. So less so, I do get the argument for football more that like it skews prior ratings. Like I get that because there's so many less data points. But like the people who are like, oh, like get rid of the AP poll, or like don't do it till January. I completely disagree with that. And like it's fun. Like it doesn't hurt anything in college basketball. Like, yeah, UConn should
Yeah.
not be 25th. Like, okay, in the grand scheme of things, like if UConn is a 5 seed instead of a 6 because the AP poll, like, is it stupid? Yeah, but like whatever. Like UConn being number 2 in Maui going 0-3, that was so much funnier than just UConn went 0-3. Or even, Creighton beating number 1 Kansas. Can't, and I said at the time, Kansas is not the best team in the country, but it's fun to say you beat number 1 Kansas. It doesn't hurt anything. Like it's stupid. There's so many oddities. I love the weekly tweet from I think it's like made for March or somebody does like the AP poll oddities where it'll be like UConn went 1-1 this week. They rose 5 spots in this guy's ballot or whatever. I
Yeah.
enjoy those posts. The AP polls, stupid, like doesn't mean anything, but it's fun. Like have fun.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. When I say I don't care about it, I mean like it's just there. It's not like college football where I actively get mad about it every week because I know it actually will influence the way championships are decided.
Yeah, and there's so many less data points too.
Yeah,
Like that was my argument where, by the end of the season, you've had 36 data points. Data point one from preseason. Like if UConn's the second best team preseason, which clearly they're not now, you have enough to get there. Whereas Missouri, is 9-3 and they were top 10 and I think they ended the year like 23rd. Are they a 23rd best team? I don't think so, but I guess you can kind of make an argument.
yeah,
Or if, UConn goes, I don't know, 19-13, yeah, there's no argument to be made. They won't be
yeah.
whatever.
Well, it's like options too. There's just more options at this level of teams in consideration, and yeah, it adds a bit of fun. A team like UC Irvine might pop up in the top 25 and miss out on the tournament, and at least they get something out of it, right?
Indiana State last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue with your point. Sort of
Yeah,
idea.
so that stuff's all in good fun. It's been nice popping up on these kind of ranking lists now, and we can start getting back to what we're used to of arguing our place on that rather than worrying about whether we're going to be in the field or not. Because it was looking grim for a while. Like, all these people are
I
kind of
put
doing their
50 bucks on, put 50 bucks on no plus 140. Damn shame.
I think to be fair, I told you on that day, like I kind of still like our chances. But
Probably did. I just hate Creighton's.
yeah, you hate, yeah. Well, and I get sick of the people who are like taking their victory lap on people like, oh, well, you doubted this team and you didn't know if they were going to make the tournament. Like, yeah, the metrics looked pretty bad. The hill looked pretty tall to climb. Like, I don't think I ever said it was impossible, but I think if anyone was saying that things were trending in the right direction when, after the loss to Georgetown or, after the Notre Dame game, like if you were optimistic then, I think it was a little bit of blind faith.
I already know. I already know Patagonia douche canoe is going to be like, oh, like you said this team wasn't as good as last year. Like, what now? Like, I don't know. The same
Still
thing.
not as good as last year. Yeah.
20 spots worse. Probably going to finish 4 games worse. I don't know.
Like I can't count how many times I've come on here and though and tried to say like appreciate Greg McDermott while he's here. He's so much better than the average Creighton fan realizes that he's been for this team, but he's, still like not a very, very top tier coach or whatever. Like, yeah, this is absolutely his best coaching job ever, probably. The team looks dramatically different than it did a
I'll
month
take the
ago.
baby Jays, but yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's fair. I mean,
How soon we forget that team was down 11 at half to Pine Bluff game one.
in the first game of the season. Like you had guys on that team though. You had Alex
Mhm.
O'Connell, you had Ryan Hawkins, like you had a young Kalk that was becoming Kalk. Like some of that did happen too, but I think it's comparable at the very least. This year you come into the season, and I'm sick of people saying like, "Oh, you doubted the roster construction of this team." How many times does he have to say it in his own interviews? He wasn't thrilled with the roster construction of this team. He literally has been saying since Pop goes down, we have to find another ball handler. We've been forcing Jemiah to have to be a ball handler. Like he is admitting that the roster construction wasn't great. It doesn't always come out perfect, but people saying like, "Oh, you dunked on this team because you said the roster construction wasn't so good." Like, yeah, he agrees with me. So like
Yeah.
if your gotcha is like you said this team wasn't well rounded, it wasn't and still isn't. It's taken some excellent coaching and some guys adapting to roles and putting in really good performances, like Jemiah turning into a different player the last 2 weeks than he was the first month of the season, right? Like it took
Or the first like 3.1 years of his career.
yeah, it took all of that happening for this team to be where it is right now. And yeah, it's happened. So I will give Mac all the flowers in the world for that. Doesn't change the fact that what I said wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
So like yeah, you just lost to Nebraska. You looked unimpressive in it. The Vegas tournament, like it's such an it is what it is now. Because when I tweeted and the guy said like, oh, all those tweets that said the season is over. Yeah, I tweeted the season is over when Ashworth was on the ground holding his knee like he had just gotten shot. Like yeah, if he was not playing right now, the season would be over. And I'm not going to take that back because I thought he was done for the season.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
it's taken all of that happening. It's taken you'd be hard pressed to say that since the Georgetown game that every player on this team hasn't improved.
Probably.
It
Yeah,
it
it's fair.
took it took all of that happening to be where we're at right now. I'm thrilled about it. I've been to, three
No,
road games in the past. Well, no, I hate Creighton, so actually I'm mad. I've been to three road games in the last 2 weeks. I'm flying back to Omaha for a week so I can go to the Marquette and UConn games. Like, I'm thrilled it's happening. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think it was going to. I'm a pessimist by nature.
uh, speaking of Marquette and UConn, I'm planning to attend that game on Saturday. The Kemba Walker jersey will be out.
Do
There's
you need
one. What?
it? No, never mind.
So there's one team, assuming I don't have to fucking coach our eighth grade basketball team with again our that was already shitty and our best players hurt. Fuck, I'm so done with it. Um, but yeah, I hate Marquette. So UConn will be the one team that I'll cheer.
Well, I
Or that
wanted
that's
to
the
Yeah, I want to make this point. I was kind of taping a Butler post game and the audio quality was somehow even worse than the Marquette one, so I didn't do it. But like my experience was so much more enjoyable at the Butler game than at the Marquette game.
oh, they're
Like,
just fucking I mean it's everything that I say, they're just such losers. Like
no
it's a
surprise
loser
which
fan
members of our
base.
fan base have connections to Marquette then.
Yeah, true. I don't know who you're getting at, but sure.
Yeah, it was just like not even the same class of people like it is, of course. It's a Big East fan base. It's very private and preppy and whatever, but my experience was 10 times more enjoyable at Hinkle having nothing to do with the score than it was at Fiserv.
Yeah, I mean, God, I hope they lose that game. I don't think they will. But I've also learned a lot about being a little bit of a Dick Road fan after the whole Wisconsin do last year.
Mm,
Never. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think so. Like I think this is probably getting pretty close now to what I said in the preseason about this team, where I said like, low ceiling, high floor. It's a little bit like the illusion of choice meme, where like I think funny enough, this team's gonna get back to pretty much exactly where I thought they'd be preseason.
yeah.
Like
Well, you said, what did you say? You said like the 20 to 30 Ken Palm range or
I said
15
like
to
20, I said
35.
like so I think I said like their ceiling was 18, their floor was like 32, and I said like a bullshit four that everybody picks to lose to a 13 was the absolute ceiling, and like a 7 seed was the floor.
Yeah, we're 31 right now, so you're looking pretty good on that one.
Yeah, we're on the low end of that range, which and yeah, I mean I got down on them mid-season, which again, yeah, I'm not gonna really apologize for. I also just like don't really care. Like I don't think I ever said like this team is terrible. Like I think I just said like yeah, for all the people who said this team was just gonna be as good as last year's, like I'll take apologies and that was offensive. But whatever.
Yeah, and it's some of that is just being a fan or whatever that some of these people justify that with. I'm just so sick of the policing of the fan base, like policing the negativity. The game against Butler, I think I posted like 30 positive tweets during. I was pretty happy. I was in a good mood, and I said, or it wasn't the what game was it? It was after the UConn game where I
Just
was,
you can,
beaming, and I dared to say like, "Oh fuck, we have a trap game at DePaul coming up," and resident douchebag like bites my head off. He's like, "Oh, guess who's being negative again? Like expecting us to lose on Tuesday." Like that's not what I fucking said. I said that that's a horrible fucking spot going into DePaul on a Tuesday after you just beat UConn on the road. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be wrong on that. Like, I didn't say, oh, they're gonna lose to DePaul. I wouldn't have thought that in my wildest dreams. But yeah, like that's a funny tweet. I'm sorry that it was not positive enough for you. I'm sorry I didn't bask in the UConn win for long enough for you. I don't get it. I really don't get people who feel the need to do that. I've never like felt the need to tell someone, "Oh, you're being too optimistic. You're being too positive." You're like, yeah, fuck you.
yeah. You want to do a quick ad break? Speaking
Yeah,
of it.
sure. You
All
want
right,
what do you
yeah.
want? Me to just
I'll
ramble?
do our first ad. Yeah. So today's podcast is sponsored by Patagonia. Patagonia. When I want to watch my wife fuck another man, I have long struggled to figure out what I'm going to wear. That's why I wear Patagonia. Patagonia.
It's
Look
the
at somebody's profile picture.
Yeah, you're insulting a lot of the Creighton fan base with that one, I gotta say.
Good. Oh fuck, no, that's supposed to be the. No, yeah, that is what I wanted. This podcast is also sponsored by Vineyard Vines. Vineyard Vines. But I don't know who I'm going to ask to homecoming my sophomore year of high school. I wear Vineyard Vines. That's why Vineyard Vines is the number one sponsor of Dennis in the Dock.
I have never worn
Also,
either of those in my life, I will say.
I'm not either. Patagonia's too liberal for me. I like true
Doesn't fit
brand.
the Mr. Dennis agenda.
Yeah, I only wear red-blooded American clothes. Yeah,
Uh,
never owned Patagonia, never owned Vineyard Vines, never owned a flannel shirt.
well, I was gonna advertise this too as like the most positive podcast that we've ever done, probably because, like, yeah, there's not a lot to complain about these last 3 weeks here. The game at Marquette, I said it at the time, like you probably should have, you could have won it, maybe should have, but whatever. You lose a game on the road to the best team in the conference while having a horrible shooting day. It is what it is. The St. John's win, you gutted it out. Like that's a good team. You won it when you needed it.
Oh, all right, I'll say something negative. I think St. John, this might just be because of my sample size of one from last year, but like, I do think St. John's going to kill them on the road.
Oh, I do too. No, I do. I don't even think that's negative to say. Like we're 6 point dogs.
Oh,
What?
boy, I mean, you just talked about what can be negative. If you don't think there's a couple people that would enjoy that comment,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I like just because I can't wrap my brain around how that's negative. I guess I shouldn't assume what other people can figure.
oh, valuable lesson there.
Yeah, like that game screams the same thing it did last year. Like 80-60 loss at MSG, where they just absolutely rip the nets open and tear us apart in transition, and that's fine. Like I don't. I think they could do that to good teams too. So if you win that game, I'm gonna be a hell of a lot higher on this team probably, but good teams lose that game. Like it just happens sometimes.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, what, Kevin has is 21-10, 14-6. Yeah, sure, fine.
Yep. Dogs in 3 games left at Nova, at St. John's, at Xavier. Big one at
Probably not
home.
winning conference unless Marquette falls apart or you go pretty nuclear here.
I don't think it's
Like,
impossible. Like you win this game on Saturday, you go 2-0 this week, you're maybe in the driver's seat.
yeah, you'd still be a game back of Marquette, and like if you're counting St. John's as a loss, you're too bad. I mean, I think you need to go 4-1 in your next five.
Yeah, but that's what the numbers say. Right now. I mean, Marquette, you call that at home a toss up, and I like our chances in it. UConn at home is now becoming expected to win games. Xavier like could be a loss. At Providence always could be a loss.
Villanova and Marquette are rated as coin flips. So say we get one of those, and then Xavier 71%, Providence 62%, Connecticut 65%. Say you win two, or say you win two of those three, 3-2.
Yeah. And then then you're probably out of the race. But if you somehow rip off 4-1, you got Marquette and UConn at home. Like if your only loss for the rest of the year is somehow St. John's, you're going to win the conference. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's just nice to at least have that conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like don't get me
Um,
wrong. I think we're looking at, the 3 or 4 seed, hopefully the three, and a nice, evening Friday tip at MSG.
are you going again or not?
No, not this year, unless something drastically changes.
Okay, yeah. Should be in Vegas for it.
I don't think it would be not a fun year to go. Like this is the kind of year where you could win it, no team I think is going to be invincible at the tournament this year.
No, maybe Bid Stealer? Butler
If
400 to
Xavier's not
1?
in at that point,
Butler 400 to 1? Like that?
like it's not a crazy thought in the world. Like if I'm trying to imagine a world where somehow, Xavier plays their way off the bubble the next few weeks, goes in as a 5 seed, like absolutely could win that. Draw us or UConn as a 4, win that game, beat Marquette, why not? Beat St. John's or us in the championship, sure, I could buy that. Georgetown as a weird 6, making it to the final isn't impossible.
No. I do think, like, I don't think Georgetown, the program is that much better. I just think Sorber's, like,
He's that
fucking
good.
stud.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
agree with that.
let's
And their
see.
worst their worst performances, to be fair, have like been mostly due to injury. It's not as bad of a team as their metrics and record are going to start aligning on, but it's also not that good of a team.
No. Um, which is weird. I don't know. It sort of feels like the Cooley move feels like it's like a lose. I mean, I guess he did get $6 million. So
Yeah, he won. He won.
one, yeah. Um, see any other takes? Do you have like I tweeted this the other night, and this again is going back to national. Like, I want Houston to win a title so bad.
I think we've been aligned on that one for a while now. Like, I think I tweeted out at the beginning of this year, Houston wins two natties in the next decade
God, would that be great?
because their recruiting class coming in is insane. The team, yeah, Samson, I just have more faith in than any other coach on planet Earth right now in any sport.
I mean, like I was almost like tearing up watching the Kansas game. Like, it's so fucking hard. Like, I mean, like the Roberts like missed shot, oh rebound, stripped, ripped the ball away, put back, and then like the sharp like closeout, fall down, pick the guy's pocket from his ass. Like the 1-2, the 1-2 of that was like God. Like I just fucking love this team. Like they couldn't make a free throw. Like I don't think there's another program that wins that game. God,
No,
like, and I just want them. Like they've just been so screwed on injuries. Like I mean, people forget they made a Final Four 3 years ago, and again, to be fair to them, like they got a ridiculously easy draw, which hey, maybe the better team shouldn't have lost. Um, but like they've just been so fucked with injuries. Like Sasser goes out, still makes an Elite Eight. Like they 100% beat Duke last year if Shed isn't hurt. They never lose that. Like DJ Burns would have died at half court at about the 10-minute mark if he had to try to keep up with Roberts, and I think Arsenal was done by then. I mean, fuck, they like even the Shed injury last year, like Arsenal was also hurt, and I think somebody else was too.
I'd believe it.
Like, yeah, I just really want them to have a run, and especially this year one. Might realistically, like, Creighton and Wisconsin, I think both could make a second weekend. But like they're not winning anything. Like I
Yeah.
don't think either Final Four. Like Wisconsin, maybe if they just make 12 threes a game. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, like it's the tournament, anything can happen. But if you're looking at this from that perspective from a Creighton fan, like win the first game is where I'm at right now, which again is probably lower than most. Call me pessimistic, but that should be your expectation for now, right?
Yeah, if you, especially with how things started, yeah, if you win a game and whatever happens in the 2-7, 3-6, like, yeah, you take that. And like, you're gonna be live in the tournament just because you're gonna have the best player on the floor in nearly every game, unless you're in like a 1-8 with Auburn. Um, yeah, I mean, you're gonna take a lot of threes, and it's always on the table that you go 14 of 30,
Yeah,
which I did. I don't, this could be stupid because I don't study enough film, but like, and I tweeted out, like, I do think that like UConn in the rematch should look at playing Caravan at the five.
I agree completely. I think it might only be from arrogance that they won't do it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure. You think Harley would be like arrogant?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Like he'd let his own like personal feelings like impact their ability to win a game?
I think
No.
it actually is getting to that point at this point in the,
Uh,
call it a rivalry, don't call it a rivalry if you want. Like he so badly wants to beat us and so badly wants to beat Kalkbrenner.
but like, and, like he almost like wants to do it like, and it's like the Ryan thing. Like, he wants to do it like his way, like
Yeah,
because like they just didn't even get anything at the hoop
no.
because they just would put Reed like I don't like Reed and Johnson did nothing.
It's not even in the past where like Sonogo at one point was Kalkbrenner's like nightmare prototype matchup. Like he scored most of his points in those matchups by stepping out for threes. Like everyone conveniently forgets that part.
Hmm.
But or in Klingon, who was like one of the only players in Division One in the last 5 years who's actually physically been able to keep up with him at the basket.
He was a
Like,
top three pick.
yeah, you're running Samson Johnson and Terrace Reed out there. Those are the kind of guys he eats alive.
Yeah.
Like you absolutely, I agree with you completely. You absolutely should be playing Caravan at the five against us. Like Marquette does it with Ben fucking Gold and it works.
I hate Ben. I hate Ben Cole. He's
Yeah. He has no business being on that team, and for as good as they are, he has absolutely no business being a part of it.
no. Man, God, I hate Marquette again.
Yeah.
I would. All right, I'll say something that would piss people off. UNO round of 32. Marquette loses a 215 and Creighton loses a 611. Would you take that?
Does Marquette lose it to Omaha?
Would you like that better?
I would like that better.
See, I don't. Yeah, I mean, sure. If you want that, sure.
Yeah, then maybe. I don't know. Like, no, I wouldn't, because the level to which I care about Creighton basketball is unhealthy, and like even watching other people fail doesn't do it for me like that. So,
Oh, I'm a major hater. Like that's when Creighton sucked. I was like, this sucks because like all of my hate watches have been so good, but like I can't enjoy like now Creighton's good enough. Like I can enjoy Kim English being shit. I can enjoy Rodney Terry sucking. I can enjoy UConn not being good. Like now it's been great.
I don't know, because I'm that way about Creighton, where like I get so much less out of regular season wins than I do out of regular season loss. Like I fucking hate regular season losses. They drive me crazy. And that's probably what everyone gets so mad at me about. Like I just don't enjoy the wins as much usually, but it's because I have such emotional stake in the expectation that they're going to win games that they should win that I don't know, it like causes physical problems for me when they don't happen.
See, so I think we talked about this. Like, I'm sure part of it is that I was in Omaha. Like, I went to every game, but like I said it last year. I was like, I poured my all in into this team for 2 years. Like, I actually did it. Like, when we, and again, now part of it was because I thought I met my future wife that night, but like the Nebraska loss is like that sucks. And like, again, I didn't watch a second of it, which like I'm sure helped. Like the Georgetown loss, I missed the first half and then didn't watch a second of it. But like, I was like, whatever. Like, like when we lost to Marquette this year, I was like, like that sucked because I was there, but like it didn't like ruin my night. Because
No,
again,
it
like, care about the team, still cheer for me. Like I'm the same way with Wisconsin this year. Like, like Wisconsin lost that game to UCLA, and I was like, like whatever, you're due to lose one.
honestly, I was prepared to not care as much about this year's team just not being in Omaha. Like you said, we did it all for this team the last couple of years. Like I didn't miss a game when I was in Omaha. We went to Pittsburgh, we went to Detroit, we were in Louisville. Like we went all in. I went to New York for one of the team. Like made all the trips, went the distance, whatever. And this year I was fully ready to be like, I'm out of town now. I won't be able to go to games. There are even some I might just miss from work or whatever. Like that's fine. And then Kalkbrenner came back, and honestly, now I think that's part of the reason I still care so much, is because I can't have his last season go out with a fucking whimper. Like when it looked like we might miss the tournament, I'm like, that's fucking disgraceful.
Yeah, that would have been. I can get behind that.
So it's a little bit of that now, but I might be in that place now. I'm in a pretty happy place right now. Like if the season runs out with us like staying in the 7 to 10 seed range, like even a first round loss probably doesn't kill me. I can be pretty happy with that rounding out. I'm in a pretty good place. Whereas last year, I'm like, if we don't live up to these expectations, I'm gonna fucking hate it. We're gonna miss our chance to do something cool, right? That's sort of off the table this year, so I'm not gonna be as livid when it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way that I can get a nice like Creighton, Wisconsin potential second round matchup, which
Well, I'm
I
looking
don't.
I'm looking down the barrel of an Iowa State Creighton second round game in Milwaukee right now.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Well,
Like stay,
fun for Justin, I'm sure. For uh
yeah, whatever. That won't figure out.
yeah.
Stay, stay with your buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
Think I'll be. Yeah, I should be in town. I think baseball starts in. Yeah, yeah. I'm just hoping for some good Milwaukee games. It'll be a nice casual change of pace, especially since I should be in Vegas the week before.
Yeah, that'll be good. And you get Marquette out of town too, so they'll be in Cleveland or Wichita
Yeah, that's
probably.
true. Yeah. I wonder if I wonder like wonder if there's any chance Wisconsin ends up here.
There is, absolutely. I mean, they pretty much have to either win out or get extremely lucky with their locations. It would have to be something like Kentucky being a three, Cleveland getting filled up before then, and them having to get sent to Milwaukee.
Kentucky, Wisconsin would be a fun game.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think that's probably the most likely way to get Wisconsin and
As
Milwaukee.
long as
Because
it's
if
not Wisconsin, Oakland, tickets shouldn't be too bad.
yeah, what the fuck, man? I don't get that. Still, like to this day, that's the weirdest thing that's happened to me when trying to buy tickets for a game.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't go very well.
But yeah, the Creighton season for like I said, for me, it's in a pretty good place right now where pretty happy with the way it's trending. You know, the outcomes at this point all look pretty good. We're not going to be a high enough seed to have a super embarrassing first round loss. You know, we're not going to be in a place where I'm like, oh yeah, we might make a run. Maybe we will. I don't know. Maybe the rest of the season just goes crazy because I'm worried about it falling into the same trap I did with Iowa State this year at their football team, where I was like, oh yeah, this should be a fun season. You know, they got a good team. We'll see what happens. And then they just kept winning. And every game they won, I'm like, it's just getting closer to how much it's going to hurt when they don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like how it built up enough where I was actually invested in the games to a, you know, significant degree where that Big 12 championship hurt a little bit. Like, fuck, you guys won too many games to make this season not painful.
Yeah. Let's say something. Oh, a Creighton UC Irvine first round game. Like that being a 6-11, that would be bad news.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a nightmare.
oh boy, like Irvine would fuck with us so hard.
Yeah.
I like that. I didn't see the Nebraska game. Like that might just be Nebraska part two. Their zone is so tough. And they have Loic in the matchup with Kalkbrenner. Which to be fair, we have Kalkbrenner to match up with him. That
Yeah.
could be like the disgusting like that could be like 50 to 47.
Oh, it could. Yeah. I mean, what was that game we played against Riverside? Or was it? It was Riverside,
Barbara,
right? Yeah.
Santa Barbara.
So, fuck. Thank you.
Like
Uh,
56, 55.
yeah, exactly. That's what I do.
People every couple of years. I
Just
was watching
before. Go
I
ahead.
was watching like I've been just getting my YouTube suggest like all the like Iron Eagle, Best March Madness calls, Kevin Harlan, whatever. So far, I've avoided any bad Wisconsin ones, but one of them was from the Iowa State Pitt game 2 years ago,
Oh
and
my
Pitt was up
God.
like 42 to 30, and I was like, I remember that game being low scoring. Then I look at the clock, and there was 5:27 left. It's like Jesus,
Well,
that
that
game
was
was
the game.
I
It,
remembered.
it was what? It was like 28-7 at half, like close to half.
Yeah,
28-11 rings a bell at half. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was awful. That was a brutal
I think
watch.
Pitt scored a combined like I think Pitt got to 61 in that game actually, so it wasn't that bad. But I think Pitt scored like 114 points total between their first four game and their first round game and with 2-0.
Yeah, wow. But then just before we close, I mean, as far as the roster goes, like talking about Kalkbrenner again is just he's just doing it again. He's just having another Defensive Player of the Year season. And the National Player of the Year stuff died down pretty rightfully when he had his little rough stretch there after the Nebraska game and missed a game or whatever it ended. He missed what, the Notre Dame game or something like that. Season's all blurring together for me at this
Yeah,
point. So that
been
all
very
died
good. There's
down.
zero other. Oh wait, sorry. Other quick question. On the topic of Kalkbrenner, I had this thought when I was at my basketball tournament watching us lose by 20. Um, Better defender, Ryan Kalkbrenner, or Cooper Flag.
Kalkbrenner. Like, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
probably.
I'm firmly of the belief he's the best defender in the country. Like, and has been for a while now. I just don't
Yeah,
think
probably.
anyone else is required to do as much as he does and be as good at what he does. Like it's a hell of a lot easier when the four guys around you are also good to great defenders. Like that's my argument for Stevie Mitchell, like playing in Marquette's defensive system. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I think he's a great on-ball defender. I think he is about one quarter as important to Marquette's defense as Kalkbrenner is to ours.
Yeah, when I said that, I don't know if you heard me. That was very clearly in jest, hopefully. Um, yeah, I mean, you have like Greg McDermott's not really a great defensive coach. Like he's an offensive guy. He's done a good job of like going to the drop, and now every once in a while, like I think the Butler game they started like blitzing ball screens, and it just kind of fucked with him pretty hard. But
Yeah.
yeah, like there's nobody else who's like defensive system just like is a guy.
Yeah. No, there is not another team in the country, at least in power conference ball or anyone that I've watched, that requires a singular player to do as much defensively. And just how fucking good he is at it too. It's genuinely ridiculous.
I do like a couple of my friends up here are big they don't like Kalkbrenner because I always say like he's soft. It's like I get like, if you watch him play, like how you think that.
Yeah,
It's like I fuck with him and like I said he's by the time he retires, like he's probably a top 10 college basketball player ever, which like is so it's fucked in the sense of like if I was building a super team, I can think of 10 guys I would take before him.
right.
But like when you add up the accolades that like he should be four-time defensive player of the year. Now, who knows? I think coaches exclusively vote on it, right? Like that's just
Yes,
a coaching
yeah.
thing.
And
Okay,
I
so you're
think
not
at least two have already pledged him his vote. Like I think Mata and Holtman already said they're voting for
sure
him.
Hurley will too.
Yeah.
As long as paint touches doesn't get a vote or anonymous eagle. The electoral college that is just paint touches anonymous eagle and Kyle the Butler fan. So yeah, Stevie Mitchell or Jameel Telford
Big
or
East Bar Room. Yeah.
Biggie Matthews or Leb Zeppelin if he's alive. Uh, which that video was so fucking funny.
That
Like
was that was
I
hilarious.
think I think I watched it five straight times and laughed every time. Like that was fucking funny. And God, is he gonna get a bag? Like
You think so? I really don't.
for getting choke slammed by the officer onto his head?
They could say anything. They could say he was being belligerent or something. He's not getting paid for that, unfortunately.
Think he will.
I mean, I hope so, but I don't think so.
I mean, that video is so fucking funny. Like, glad he seems to be okay and in good spirits. Like, and I hate Providence Twitter as a whole. I hate Providence fans. Like, that's so fucking funny.
No,
Like,
I know, yeah.
just the way that they like slowly fall down. Like, I don't know what the guy's plan was either. Like, he just backpacked him and then like fell back and like I think I mean, Leb Zeppelin is not a small guy. Like the guy who choked him out did not like that couldn't have felt good either.
No, yeah, I feel like he's coming down on his back pretty good there. Yeah,
Ah,
he
fuck. Yeah, that
bounced
video's
his head off the floor though, too. That's
that's
why
that's what I'm saying. Like brain injury, he'll get something.
I mean, as I learned my freshman year though, when they were trying to stop us from getting on the floor after the Villanova win, which still to this day I can't believe they didn't let us do. Number three Villanova overtime win, eventual national champion. They didn't let us on the floor. But I learned they give those guys carte blanche apparently to do what they've got to do to keep you off the court.
Really?
Yeah, some guys took some decent shoulder checks.
That's funny.
But yeah, Kalkbrenner, like you said, deserves the four-time Defensive Player of the Year. I think he'll get it. Like again, it's not subject to the same voter fatigue that some national awards might have. The fact that Dickinson is on the All-American list and he isn't is a joke. Like at the very least, there might be
All
other
American or
worthy
for
contenders.
defense?
All-American.
Okay.
Yeah, like compare their numbers side by side. It's not close, and that's without any of the defensive impact. Like that's
Yeah.
a joke. You can say Kalkbrenner doesn't deserve to be an All-American, and like whatever. I disagree, but whatever. But having specifically Dickinson over him is such a joke.
Who's all over him? Like Broom, probably Stephen Crowell. Um, but
Uh, yeah, flag like the usual stuff. Cam Jones, like I don't know
do
if Curtis
we
Jones was
need
probably on
to
that list.
we didn't have a Cam Jones conversation. Like, is Cam Jones that good? Yeah,
I
yeah, he is. He's
Yeah,
had a
he's
few
that good.
bad games.
Yeah.
He had a couple. He's not been great lately, but
No,
yeah,
I
you know what?
mean,
I stand by my take. The only game since in 2025, the only game he has an O rating over 106 is Seton Hall.
hmm, all right.
Yeah, I
I mean,
stand by it. He's not been that good lately.
he was a -8 against Xavier. I can't
He
imagine.
was awful. At the end of the game, I don't know what the hell he was doing.
He didn't play that well against Creighton either. Like I know we talked about it at the time. Like he was 0 for his first seven or something like that.
104 O rating, 22 points, but it took him 22 shots to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I stand by that take. He's not been great lately.
As far as the rest of the roster, though, like we got 2 minutes left. We'll try to speed run through this. Like Ashworth has settled in. If he's not turning the ball over, he's having a great game. Green is settling into his role in the starting spot, but for most of the time, him and McAndrew are coming off for Trout and Miller when we're having our best minutes. Miller like never is the on-ball defender and never is touching the ball or shooting it, but somehow has been like our best plus minus guy. Just being in the right places and guys are still respecting him like he's a 40% shooter, even though he's like an 8% shooter. Trout looks genuinely good as a piece right now. I don't know if that'll last, but it's been nice to see.
I think it will. I mean, his body looks way different. He needs to figure out like the facial hair thing, but like the body looks way better. Like he's noticeably quicker, I think, and like defensively better, more aggressive on rebounds. And I mean, God, when he swishes a three, the elbow three when he swishes it, few do it better.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden he was shooting, I think like 25 or lower percent through the first 8 or 9 games. He's back up to 43 now. I think he's missed one
Yeah,
time in the last 3 games.
yeah.
All right, well, closing
Uh,
thoughts if you've got them.
no, solid year. Pretty happy with the turnaround. Good coaching job. Good job by the players. Fun year of college hoops. Excited for the next 2 months.
Yep, everything trending in the right direction. Hopefully, we've got a nice close of the season coming. I'll be back in Omaha in a couple of weeks, and I'm really looking forward to it. So we'll
Yeah,
see you
me
all
too.
then.
See ya.